Hello guys and welcome to another week of Young with Ram. You know, the series where you ask me whatever questions you want and I get to answer them, more or less and to the best extent of my abilities. So after last week late Young with Ram, we are back to our usual schedule of Mondays. So yeah, let's get the ball rolling and let's get the thing going. The first thing is, well, there were a lot of questions last week about the video quality being only 360p instead of 720p, which is my usual quality. All I have to say is that I couldn't do anything about it. It's something related with YouTube and the way it handles the videos and the way it compresses them and well processes them. For whatever reason, YouTube decided that they wouldn't mm, just process the video over 360. I don't know why. The original video was in 720, and for whatever reason, it was crap. My apologies. I didn't upload it because it took me almost 6 hours, if not more, to upload a video that in the end was more than 1 hour long. So yeah, that's my excuses, but I couldn't do anything to solve it. So next question, and I'm going to get this weird question out of the way the sooner I can because it's going to be the best. You all know that I always get at least one weird question per week, and this one is Ram, would you rather have sex with a mermaid that is top half fish or top half human? Really, how do you guys come with this question? This one is actually kind of easy for me to answer. Top half human. I don't know what I would do down there, and I don't want to think about it at all. But when I'm having some kind of close relations, let's call it this way, with a girl, I like to watch her face and look at her into the eyes. It's something like I like to do, and if those eyes are those of a fish, besides, I'm kind of more of a yeah. I really like girls who are pretty, who have nice faces, and whom I can kind of the kind of girls I can look into the eyes. And with a fish head, that wouldn't be possible. Anyway, I wouldn't have sex with a mermaid at all, unless she's one of those who, when they are out of the water, they have normal legs and the rest of normal stuff girls get. But if I had to choose, well, would be that top human. As for the well, I don't want to go into details. Whatever. Next question. Next question is. Hey Ram, there were many changes in War Thunder, some planes handling characteristics changes, and so on. Will we see some reanalysis from your older bits? Well, of course, the plane analyses are all based on the version they are made of course. And if there are some huge changes of the flight models, of course, reanalysis is totally planned. It's happened before. I mean, I think I have three different P47 analyses in this channel because the flight models received some nice changes all the way until the point we are now. So if I make an analysis of a plane that's changed in several ways or which flight model receives a huge change, yeah, reanalysis is totally going to happen. It doesn't mean it's going to happen in all the occasions and all the planes. For instance, the LA-7, the Soviet fighter, I did an analysis shortly before in patch 1.35. It received a flight model update that allowed it to go much faster in a dive. But still, the rest of the analysis is pretty accurate and is perfectly valid. So I solved it by stating in the video that the dive speeds were about to change and that the plane would have a better performance in that regard in the future. So it depends. If the flight model has means a big change of the plane, yes, I will do a reanalysis for sure. If it doesn't, I might do it, I might not. Depends on how much it changes and how much it affects the way the plane is flown. But yeah, of course, it's something I'm always worried about and something I keep on top of my head. Planes with flight model fixes usually get a reanalysis if the fix is and the change is big enough. So, next question. What do you think about the movie Hot Shots? It's funny, but it's not one of the memorable movies for me. Um, the first time I saw it, it was really hilarious, but it kind of gets old with time. Something that never happens with Airplane. I don't know why, but while one of the movies I can see all the times you want, and the other is kind of boring for me after the second or third time is made. So I think Hot Shots is a pretty funny movie, and one you will have a very good time watching for the first or second time. But after the first, third one, I don't know why, but it kind of got boring for me. Don't know. Next question. This is for from the Rammer Master of the Skies in Historical Battles, Foxu. This is a question for the next Jam with Noob. Are you even gonna get better? Um, well, in the same tone of the question, I will say no because I'm an ace and you are a noob and you are going to ramming around in historical battles. Foxu, you noob. In a more serious note, I don't think I'm the best player in War Thunder by any stretch of the imagination. I think I'm good. I think I'm pretty good, and that I honestly say that I never ever go into a 1v1 fearing the adversary. I respect anyone I meet up in the virtual skies, but I don't fear him because I trust my ability and my chances to win in 1v1. In some cases, that's extensive to a 1v2. 1v3, if the enemy has a clue, it's impossible to go against. It also depends on the plane I'm with, of course. It's very different to go in a plane like I don't know, ME109, BF109 than if you are going in a hurricane. Some planes just give you a chance to stay out of reach and to properly handle situations in 1v2s, 1v1s better than others. But anyway, I don't think I'm the best one in War Thunder. I think there are very competent pilots up there who are really better than me in some areas. For instance, I do think that Bismarck has an accuracy I will never have in War Thunder. There are people who really have a very, very extreme ability to hit with short bursts. Sometimes something that sometimes I feel lacking in myself. So it's room for improvement there. Also, there is room for improvement in many situations where I find myself now and then, and where I really trust myself too much. And it's something that really is starting to happen a little bit too much. Maybe because I'm attracting attention and people want to hunt me, which of course is something that happens when you get a little bit of attention and people start to know you. They try to hunt you. I don't have a problem with that because I think in historical battles you can stay away from the problem of being hunted, at least to a point. I think the most restrictive flight models and much bigger maps than in arcade means that someone who's having trouble in arcade battles, in historical battles, if he flies smart, he's going to stay mostly above those problems. But the problem still remains, and that means that sometimes when I'm in a given situation and I engage someone and I'm in a fight versus someone, I attract attention I wouldn't attract if I wasn't who I am. And while that's not particularly bad from a teamwork point of view, because it means I'm attracting attention of people who might be focused on doing other things, like killing my teammates, it kind of I mean, I'm flying with some restrictions some other players don't have, because some other players who are not known don't have to deal with the attention that being who I am has. Um, so means I really have to watch the situation very carefully before committing into a fight, especially when I fly alone, and I fly alone a lot. Um, and I think I can get better in that. I think a situational awareness for me should be much more restrictive. I must be a lot more conservative than other players, and I can get better in that. There are some parts of the game I can get much better than what I am. For instance, in attack planes, in my tactics videos I have put last days, there are some complaints from people that say that I totally stink at attacking ground targets, and they have a point. I rarely use rockets and bombs in my planes, so I don't have the feel to use them. I don't have the aiming ability to just dispatch a tank with 2 rockets. I need a salvo to kill a tank. Um, so there's room for improvement. There's room for improvement for me in bombers, but I don't see why should I improve there because I find them boring. But of course, I can get much better than what I am, and that's one of the things that I like about these games is that you never stop learning. When you think you are good, someone is going to spank your ass. Really, when you trust yourself too much, your situational awareness slides because you think you can deal with situations that really you can't, and be you shouldn't go into. I mean, part of the situational awareness and tactical decisions is not getting into situations you can't handle, and when you over trust yourself, you get into those situations, and you get tilted and you fly better or worse as a result. And I feel that I tend to get into those situations more than what I should, and probably that's because I'm trusting myself too much. So yeah, I'm. Are you ever gonna get better? I trust I will. I don't think I'm the best one out there. I trust my ability. I rely on my ability. I think I'm good, but I think there's always room to improvement, and I think I can improve myself a lot. So yep, I'm going to get better because it's what I think I need to enjoy the game more than what I do right now. Next one. This one is actually kind of a statement, and I found it really funny and entertaining to read. So I'm going to read it. Dear Diary, today I engaged with the enemy's ace pilot Ram JP. By engaged, of course, I mean to state that I pointed my nose down and ran as though the hounds of hell were nipping at my heels. But you see, dear Diary, what else was I to do? It was only my second flight, and in that all bitter which the mechanics had thought to scrap for spare parts. And I dare say it's awfully unsporting of the enemy to send up their best against raw recruits and clap it out all warbirds. It just isn't cricket. This comes from WWII, and I found it really amusing. The thing is, what's behind this statement, and I know it's been posted in the best of the intentions and with the best of the spirits, but I think is that it's part of the game. You come from probably arcade. You are going against pilots who have a lot more experience in historical battles than you. If you are thinking that in 3 afternoons of player War Thunder historical battles you are going to turn yourself into a second Eric Hartman, forget about it. It's not going to happen. I think the best part of historical battles is the challenge of accepting you are not the best guy in your team, accepting you are not the best player in the game, accepting your plane is not the best, that you are facing worse odds, accepting those challenges, go against them, and try to beat them. And I think it's the best part, first of all, because with the proper mindset, it's hugely entertaining to do that. Really, it is. As long, of course, as the opposition is not in a point where the technical advantage, is so huge as not to give you a chance. For instance, if you are forced to fly a biplane versus a jet, that's not a challenge. That's just retarded. But if you are going against enemies who you know are better than you in planes that, because they are unlocked, are better than yours, there's still the chance for you to kill them, to accept the challenge, and to force yourself to perform to the max in order to meet the challenges. Sometimes you don't have the ability yet because you are new. Sometimes you still don't have the knowledge. But if you challenge yourself to get better at that game, you will be hungry for getting better. You will crave for information and you will look for it. And you will assimilate it. And you will get better at it. Because the challenge is something that puts you in a situation that's like being between the sword and the wall. You either accept where you are and where you stand and you learn, or you are going to die. It's a sink and swim situation. A lot of players who move into historical battles return to arcade in hours because they think they can't compete. The thing here is that everyone has the same chance to compete. It's all down to knowledge, skill, and tactics. I've seen awful pilots turn into really competent ones in weeks or days, even. I mean, the change is spectacular from someone that you see that he has not a clue on what he's doing, and maybe a couple of days later he's flying really competently. And of course, he has a lot of mistakes and he's committing wrong tactical calls, and maybe he's overcommitting himself, or maybe he's flying the wrong way. But you can see the process of improving, and that improvement is happening because that guy has challenged himself. He's a guy who went into a game mode he didn't fully understand, with planes he didn't know crap about, and he decided he was going to get better than that, and that he was going to get good at that. Maybe not the best, but at least competent. And that's the stuff what good players are made of. The challenges are the things that get you better. Let me share a thought here. There are a lot of people who right now in historical battles come from arcade battles, get into a broken fighter and start spanking us, because I think it's broken beyond redemption. It's a UFO to the whole extension of the world. Do you think those guys are learning anything? No. What will happen when the bullfighter gets fixed? Because it will. Sooner or later. At this rate, it's going to happen in the next decade. But it will happen. Sooner or later, the bullfighter is going to get its proper flight model. And believe me, the bullfighter proper flight model is that of a heavy, really heavy fighter. It's going to be good at it. But it's not going to be able to turn fight anything. It's not going to be able to outclimb anything. In the vertical, it's going to be horrendous. Still, it will be a great plane for what it is, a heavy fighter. And those guys who have been abusing the broken fighter will find themselves with no option, because there's no worse way to get into historical battles than accommodate yourself for the easy plane of the month, the flavor of the month plane, the easy mode, because there are some planes that are easy mode. And the most blatant one right now is the broken fighter. Of course, the A-20 is also as well. The Soviet SB-2, the Soviet Tu-2, the German Dornier 217. There are planes that are so broken that allow you to do things that you shouldn't be able to do. After those gets fixed, what's going to be about those guys? Because they will be facing the prospect of going into historical battles in planes that perform like they should. And they will have learned nothing at all. If you compare that with someone that gets into a game with planes that are normal, that are probably even underperforming because they are not unlocked, and they go against the enemy teams, some of them will be full of derps, some of them will have a lot of good pilots, and they challenge themselves to get better on the plane they choose to be better at. A plane that really performs like we should. They are going to die a lot. They are going to get horrendous kill-death ratios. Their stats are going to suck for a long time, but in the end, they will become great players. So the thing is, if you think it's unfair to get into the first or second historical battle you face and to find me or Bismarck or I don't know whoever is good at this game, there are a lot of them. Foxu, Lapa, JJ Jonas. There are a lot of very good players in this game. If you think that going to historical battles and finding those guys in the second game is unfair, it's not the proper mindset. It's not unfair. It's a challenge. I have been killed by people who are really new to this game. Really, I have, because I derp out like anyone else. Sometimes I do very wrong calls. Sometimes someone comes and gets a lucky hit, and there have been times where I have been totally outplayed by the very same people I'm teaching. And there are a lot of instances in this channel. A lot of people who know me from this channel, who learned to play with this channel, and who had outplayed me because of this channel. And that's the thing. You can beat the best if you do the proper thing. Doesn't mean you are better than them. Means that you can beat them. So face the challenge with a smile and keep on going, because sooner or later you will become, if not as good as them, you can. Why not? You can. But if you don't, at least you will become much better than what you are. And a competent pilot is usually a good challenge enough for a very good pilot. Really, it is. So just embrace the challenge and move ahead. So yeah, next question. Next one is also a mixed comment question. Dragging tactics. You can answer them next week on in the form of a guide. How do you drag with random teammates? 99% when I'm on the tail of an enemy that is on the tail of a friendly, the friendly performs some high G break turn that I simply can't follow and ends up dead. And when I drag in a relatively straight line, only rolling to evade, my ally seems to never get the guy on my tail. What's the safest, most reliable way to handle these situations with randoms? There is none. I mean, random teams are randoms. And there's one thing that Jingle said and says a lot is never trust randoms, because you will live longer and you will rate much less. And that's wisdom, man. That's wisdom. Randoms are randoms. You never know exactly what the guy behind is up to. If he's good, if he's bad, if he knows how to recognize a good drag or not. A lot of the times, I'm finding out in historical battles, particularly in historical battles, people recognize a good drag for what it is. Especially if they are in a pretty nice, advantageous position, if they are higher and they are looking for targets to bounce, they will recognize a good bounce. And the way to drag is the way you do. The way to drag is to do a straight line, if possible, and very minor turns and rolls, but just keep the thing more or less going in the same line. The problem is when the bandit is very close to you. When the bandit is very close to you, you simply have to rely on your own skill and not on the drags. You have to try to force an overshoot, etc. But if you have some room, some space to maneuver, if it's a chase and you still have some time going before the guy behind starts shooting you, or is an extreme angle or extreme distance of maybe, I don't know, 800 meters or something like that, the best way to do is to keep as steady as you can and hope for the bandits, for the friendlies to come. Usually a help me command serves to attract attention that otherwise you would never have, but there's no way to guarantee you will have someone clearing your six. All you can do is to give them the best chances for them to get it. If they don't, too bad. Really, you can't trust randoms. Even so, I'm telling you, if you do a proper drag and ask for help and for a cover me command, most of the times, maybe 70%, people will come and help, because people are hungry for kills and they see a guy who's tunneling his vision towards you and he's not looking around, he's an easy target. People recognize those situations very, very fast, and they come not to help you, they come to get the kill, but in the end they are helping you. So use that. It's reverse psychology. Try to do things as easy as you can for your teammates to kill them. If they still don't, too bad. You did what you had to do, but sometimes teammates are going to betray you. There's no way around that. People are people. Randoms are randoms, and the best way to survive is not to trust them. Is the only question. Is the only answer I can give. Next question. How much do you think your English has improved since you have started making videos? Oh, impossible to define in words. A lot. My problem with English is not that I lack on grammar, on vocabulary, or ways to express myself. My problem with English is that while I have been reading and read in English for years, and I have a huge practice on that, I rarely have used my spoken English until the moment I started this channel. So I simply wasn't fluent enough. I didn't have the ability to express myself in words by speaking the same way I was doing by writing, which is kind of curious and goes to prove that oral communication doesn't use the same parts of the brain as written communication. I simply lacked it. I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the fluency, I didn't have the ability to express myself in words. Then, again, there's another problem. When you start doing videos in YouTube, you are really scared of it. You are really like shy. At times you don't know what to say and how to say it. And that also goes to not help your English at all. But in fluency, I'm much better now. Maybe it's not the thing you guys are noticing the best. I mean, the worst problem for you is probably my accent. And the fact that I know a lot of words I don't know how to pronounce because I'm not used to pronounce them. But that goes away with practice, but it's a very slow process. I have improved a lot in that. A lot. I mean, my pronunciation when I started making videos was absolutely horrible. I couldn't make a live commentary video because simply my English wouldn't keep up with my brain. And even for myself, afterwards, watching those videos was painful because that live commentary was totally impossible to understand, even for me, much more for other people. Right now, I can do live commentaries, which that on its own is a huge, huge step forward. Means that my fluency is much better. Means that my ability to keep track on what I'm thinking and translate them, those thoughts into words, it's much more fluid. Happens much easier. I don't have to stop to think what I'm going to say. I simply said it. I think in English, basically. The change was that before I was thinking in Spanish and translating my thoughts in Spanish to English. Right now, as I'm speaking right now, in this same moment, I'm thinking in English. And that's because I'm getting practice in using my English. That's huge. The problems with my accents, with my accent, will never fade away totally. I'm always going to have a very heavy Spanish accent. Is something that you can't really help. I mean, I'm too old to get rid of this accent. But what I'm hoping for is to make it a lot softer and much easier to understand. And part of the thing is to learn pronouncing the words I know, but I don't know how to pronounce. There are a lot of words out there that I don't dare to use in my spoken English because I simply don't know how to pronounce them. Overall, I think my English has evolved in quantum leaps. It's huge how much I have evolved, especially in fluency, but also in pronunciation. There is still huge room for improvement. There are a lot of ways I can improve my English. My fluency can still be a lot better. There are a lot of times where I'm talking like this pretty fast, pretty quickly, and suddenly I come to a stop and I kind of get stuck. And at that point, it's kind of complicated to get out of it because I don't find the words. It's simply as that. I have the words, but I don't find the way to translate them into a proper English. Sometimes that happens, but it's happening less and less as the time goes by. Also, my pronunciation is getting better. Not much better, mind you, because this is a very slow process, but it's happening. And people are telling me all the time that maybe it's because they are getting too used to my English, or maybe it's because I'm improving my English. I think it's a little bit of both. I think I'm getting better at my spoken English. I think my pronunciation is better. I think my accent is getting better. But I also think that people are getting used to my accent, and now they understand things that the first time they were watching me was like, "What is this guy saying?" Still, I think it's a barrier I have to bring down. I think to improve my English, and I actually think that I should get some classes of English going, but I simply don't have the money to do so. Anyway, I'm spending a lot of time watching streams, watching videos, getting used to think in English. Yeah, you will find this funny, but at times when I'm driving in a long distance drive, maybe 1 hour to go to Madrid or back, there are a lot of times when I find myself thinking in English about my next jam with Ram video, or my next video, and what I'm going to say, and I kind of rehearse what I'm going to say, and I speak alone and I speak in English for a while just to. I know it's funny, but I do it, and I think it's helping as well. All the practice I get is better, at least in what regards to my fluency. Accent, I need someone to correct me, and I don't have that person right now. I hoping to have someone who can correct me very soon back in my lab, but right now is not there. So I don't really have anyone to correct me when I'm speaking and saying something like it shouldn't be said. But now and then in the comment section, someone says, "Hey, this word should be said like this, not like that," or simply by watching someone else in YouTube, I see him using an expression I have used before, and I notice he's saying it totally different from what I said, and I change my way to say it. So it's a progression. It's something that's happening step by step, and it's not going to be an easy way. It's not going to be very fast, but it's going to happen. It's happening. So I think really my English is much better than what it was when I started. Much, much, much better. Quantum leap, really, it is. So next question. I think we all agree that the Corsair was a great fighter plane, maybe even one of the best radial engine ones. Would it have made sense to deploy it in the European theater? What would have spoken for or against that? Well, the Corsair was actually fielded in the European theater, not by the US Navy, but by the Royal Navy. The thing is that the Corsair, in its first versions, was a very complicated plane to operate from carriers. It had a very nasty tendency to stall without a warning and drop one of the wings and kill the pilot because in an approach to a carrier, for instance. So the Corsairs for most of the war, excuse me. Actually, Corsairs in the US service, so mostly service with the Marines. Even when they were embarked finally in 1944, late 1944, the first embarked wings of squadrons of Corsairs were the U.S. Marine squadrons, not the U.S. Navy. The U.S. Navy was just using the F-6F, the Hellcat, because it was a much easier plane to fly. But the Corsairs were so much better than the Hellcats that it's not even funny. I mean, they were much faster, they dived better, they zoomed better, they had excellent characteristics the Hellcat didn't have. The Hellcat was an average performer in most regards. It's the best thing that can be said about the Hellcat is that it was better than the Zero, which was his direct competitor, and that it was easy to fly, trusty, rugged, with a lot of. I mean, it was reliable. It was a trustworthy workhorse, but it was an unspectacular workhorse. Therefore, it was spectacular. I mean, it was one of the best performers of World War II. Why wasn't it fielded in the European theater by the US Navy? Well, first of all, because the US Navy carrier presence in the Atlantic was never very strong. Usually it was the USS Wasp, which was a carrier which had some troubles because it was too small, and FOUs couldn't operate from that. So yeah, it operated USS Wasp, the USS Ranger, And mostly that was it. There were some other car races to the Atlantic rotation now and then, but operationally speaking, other than the Wasp and that the Ranger, there were no other carriers around, and the Wasp actually was retired and moving to the Atlantic into the Pacific before the F4U came into service, and was sunk in Guadalcanal. So that's out of the question. So the U.S. Navy carrier that was the most in the Atlantic was the Ranger, and the Ranger was at the Atlantic because it was deemed too bad and to be in the Pacific. I mean, it was a very limited carrier. It had a lot of operational troubles, and of course, operating an F4U from that carrier was totally out of the question. So the U.S. Navy never fielded the F4U in the European theater. Besides, it wasn't the Navy who were using the plane for the most part. It was the Marines, and the Marines were all in the Pacific for obvious reasons, of course. Um, but the Royal Navy used them, and they used them in several attacks against the Tirpitz, and they were very satisfied with it. They recognized it was a complicated plane for new pilots to fly, but if handled with care and with the proper training, it never gave a problem. So while the U.S. Navy was of the opinion that the 4U was too difficult to fly to be operational aboard carriers, the US Navy was actually flying them embarked and they had no trouble with it. As for what the impact in the European would have been if there would have been more Corsairs, probably none. I mean, after the sinking of the Tirpitz, well, after the sinking of the Bismarck, and the return of the Scharnhorst and the two German battle cruisers that were at France and then were redeployed back to Normandy, to Germany. Um, After the threat of surface raiders on the Atlantic by Germany faded away, carriers simply didn't have a huge task to accomplish, supporting landings, doing anti-submarine roles, patrol duties, and to keep the German Navy at check at Norway. But fighters weren't really needed for that. Um, Therefore, you never had a huge impact in the Royal Navy, for instance, until the Royal Navy moved carriers to the Pacific, and then there they had a huge impact. But in the Atlantic, never ever did have a huge impact because a fighter in the end gives you air superiority, and the Allied side already had air superiority. They had carriers where the Germans and Italians didn't. So I don't think they would have been a huge impact had there been more Corsairs in the European theater. So next question. Two very similar questions from the same guy. Overall, despite all the problems this game has, do you still enjoy playing it? And also, do you, Ram, you often, and correctly so, complain about the problems with War Thunder from the unhistorical battles to the broken flight models? Do you do this because you are passionate about the game, or are disappointed when the BS like this happens, or what? Well, this is something I have some real troubles in answering because I simply like this game too much. I love it to bits. I think it has such an immense and huge and amazing potential that I simply can't understand why Gaijin is doing the things they are doing and how they are doing them. Of course, I'm not a game developer. I'm not part of Gaijin. Maybe they know something I don't. I don't really know, and I don't understand how things that have been broken for months simply don't receive a fix when they are reaching the point where they are game breaking. There's a video of Bismarck, he posted it yesterday, and pretty much sums my thought on that. It's exactly that. I mean, there are so many things that are breaking this game, at least in historical mode, that it's really hard to understand why they don't receive a fix. And it's not as we are trying to ask for immediate realistic flight models for some planes, but at least some placeholders that are believable and don't break the game the way they are breaking it right now. So do I enjoy this game? Most of the times I do, because I love this game and I'm really excited for its potential and what it can't really be. But at certain points, I have to admit that I really get fed up with it. I'm very close to send everything to hell and say, fuck this shit, I'm going to unload this game and uninstall it. Really, there are points where I feel like this. But overall, it's a positive experience. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be flying and playing War Thunder. I wouldn't be putting up content for it in YouTube. I simply would have quit the game. If I don't, it's because I enjoy the game and I like it and I think it has potential. But that doesn't mean that I don't have problems with it. At times I do. I'm very heavy. And yes, I know I complain a little bit too much in my videos, but really keep in mind that my approach to this game is one of a huge expectation. I expect the best out of this game because it has the potential to do so. This is a excuse me. This is a work of art. This is an amazing game, and it has the potential to do it so big, so great, to be the really the standard for online multiplayer games in the future for what regards to this kind of game. Planes, ships, tanks, etc. I mean, is in the position to be the standard for the next generation of games. And to see it manage it in a way that we don't understand, because I don't understand why things are being handled the way they are, really gets us. I mean, I complain a little bit too much, I admit it, I freely do so, but there's a reason why I do. And the reason why I do is because I really like this game and I really wanted to make it big. I really expect and I really hope Gaijin makes this the best game we have ever seen in well, in consoles, in PC. It's going to be a mixed platform. But I really have my expectations up. This game can be everything I dreamed of from a game. Um, and also open to everyone, from people who really want to fly with a joystick and a throttle, and others, people who just want to fly with keyboard and mouse and have a less realistic experience but still have fun in a game that really gives them immersion, because immersion sometimes doesn't need a huge realism behind. You only need some realistic components, and this game just strikes this balance so well that really I want it to succeed, because I want to play this game for years to come, and I want it to make it big, and I want it to make it big numbers. I wanted it since the first minute I tried it, because I saw what it can be. The problem is that I don't understand why the things are being done the way they are. I don't understand how broken flight models stand broken for 9 months. Why we went through an event, the Indian Summer event, when the only thing you would find at level 5 would be teams full of broken fighters, and those things haven't still received a fix. I don't understand the reasoning why game-breaking things like the premium Spitfire 9 for the Americans is not changed for a Spitfire 9 like the one the British have, or it's up tiered in the same way the British have their Spitfires tiered. I don't understand that. I don't understand why something is not done about the matchmaking at jet levels and preventing Korean era war jets to Seal Club German teams or Japanese teams. I don't understand why nothing of that is happening, because it's not. I mean, if it was something really complicated that needed months of development, I would just calm down and stay patient and say, okay, we will see a fix to that when the time is proper for it to happen. The problem is that we don't see any movement in that way, and it's not complicated stuff. Really, these things have relatively easy and quick fixes, and they don't happen. And sometimes when you are flying really and something happens that really gets you, because you see that something that shouldn't happen has happened. For instance, my famous bear cat video. I mean, I don't think that's something we should expect from a game like this. And I don't understand why planes without a complete flight model can make it into release without at least have a proper level of testing. It's perfectly normal that something that is new and comes into the game is not perfect and is broken in some ways. But sometimes I have to admit it. Sometimes I really look at the game and I wonder myself, how the hell is this plane in the game in the shape and way it is right now? Because this shouldn't have been released the way it is, and it still is here. it's my lack of comprehension. It's my lack of ability to take on and to understand why things are the way they are and why they are not fixed that really gets me the most. But do I have fun playing this game? Of course. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't be seeing almost what's now 45 minutes of gameplay. This is recorded gameplay. This is games I have played and recorded randomly because I have fun playing this game. Otherwise, I wouldn't play it. And I understand and I admit that sometimes really I simply unplug and get out of the game in frustration, and I even went off in my Facebook account just my frustration about how the game is and why it is the way it is right now. But I still like it, I love it. Otherwise I wouldn't care at all about uninstalling it and say, hey, fuck this game. Something I have done a lot of times in the past with other games. So yeah, I do have fun. I do complain a little bit, maybe a little bit too much, but it's all because I want the best for this game. And I think I'm in a position that a lot of you guys don't know exactly what's right and what's wrong in the game, which planes are correct and which planes are not. I do have an historical background. I do have a background in uh, in history, and because I love history and I love World War II, and I know a lot about it. Many times you guys approach me and ask me about a certain plane. Hey Ram, is this plane correctly modeled? Is this plane accurately modeled? This is what is to happen or not? Because you want to learn, you want to understand how to approach the combat versus some kinds and some different planes, and you want to know if they are properly modeled, and you have to learn how to fight them, and they are never going to change because they are the way they are, or whether they are actually broken and in the future they will change. And of course I have to answer that. So I'm in a position when I'm asked, and I have to give my opinion because you guys ask me. You just did, for instance. Do you enjoy this game? What do you think? Why do you complain? You are asking my opinion about the game, and I have to give it. And I'm not one to smile to the camera and say everything is fine when something is not fine. I'm not one to ignore the fact that some things are broken and just ignore it and say nothing, because I'm not like that. I don't like lying to you guys. If I have to complain, I'm going to complain. I don't want to be seen as a whiner or someone that complains without a reason. Each time I complain, I think I have a good reason to do so. And I'm not going to say that I'm always right, because there are times that probably I will be wrong, but at least I will give an honest opinion of what I think and what I think about the game. Of course, that's seen as many people as bias or something like that, but you can't help that. You can help haters hating and people with agendas just wanting to take you wrong, because that's happening. People just take my videos wrong because they want to take my videos wrong, because they simply can't cope with the fact that some things in the game are not the way they should be, and that someone pointing out those facts is not because he has a personal agenda. He wants other players to have an unfair advantage. It's not because he's playing a certain nation. It's because he wants the game to be as accurate as possible. It's as simple as that. But a lot of people just don't understand that, and they don't get that, and they will go to ridiculous extremes to just make you appear as what you are not. And of course, I'm subjected to that kind of stuff all the time. You know that. I have spoken about that a lot in the past. But even so, I love this game. I have a lot of fun most of the times flying it. I love the challenge it means for me to fly in planes that maybe are not the best ones, but getting good results out of them. I I simply think this can be perfection in, well, not perfection, but this can be a hell of a game, and I really want it to succeed. And I'm staggered by some decisions I don't understand, and probably that's the problem. I don't understand them. Maybe if I was in Gaijin and being a developer of them and working with them, I would understand those reasons, but simply I don't. And I don't. I'm not part of Gaijin, and I don't have any direct links with them. And probably it's better for everyone that I don't. But from the standpoint of where I am, which is a gamer with a voice, because I'm a gamer, I play this game, and I have a voice. Um, well, I have my opinions, I have my ideas, and I want to share them. But always without forgetting the fact that what I want for this game is to be the most amazing and immersive experience of an online game for World War II. Something that really this game is what I dreamed of for a long, long while, in many ways. It's not going to be perfect from the realistic point of view. Let's face it, we are going to have thousands of different planes in this game. It's impossible to bring them with a totally perfect flight model realism. But approximations are okay. If they fly close enough to what they did in real life, it's enough. The problem is when you get a broken fighter and you see that it flies like a zero. That's not something you can really come to terms with. But you can, because you say, okay, this is not working as intended, but probably in a couple of months it will be fixed. Well, it's been 9 months and nothing has changed yet. And not in that way, and not in many others that the game is giving me fits. So sometimes I rage and sometimes I complain, but it's all because I love this game. It's all because I want the best for this game. I want really Gaijin to hit it big, and I think they have the talent, the will, and the ability to pull that off. And really pisses me off to see that talent, that will, and that ability wasted. Because in my opinion, they are wasting it with an approach I don't understand. Maybe I would if I was inside the team, but I'm not. The thing is, I don't understand it. Doesn't mean that I'm totally right. Maybe they have their reasons to do the things the way they are doing it. I don't know, but I don't understand them. Anyway, as an answer to the question, yes, I have fun with this game a lot, and yes, I do complain, but only because I want this game to be the best game ever for PC in this era. So, yep, that's it for this question. Next one. Well, it's not going to be actually the last question because I'm seeing that I have a couple more. First, Ram, could you tell us which planes got air cooling system and which water oil coolant cooling system? Where air cooling system are the radial planes. Those that are the cooling is like a big cylindric shape with an intake. You can see the cylinders. It's, placed in a radial shape. And the air-cooled ones are the ones that have a streamlined nose and use liquid and radiators to cool it. It's very easy to see. For instance, look at Spitfire and compare it with a Focus 190. The Focus 190 is an air-cooled, the Spitfire is an inline. Very easy to see the differences. Hi Ram, a while ago you did a video where you overturned an energetic deficit in a 190 versus a Mustang. Would you consider doing more in this style, pausing and such to explain your thinking? I found it very useful, but I would like to see it more examples in order to be able to relate to general principles rather than circumstances of the one occasion, if that makes sense. Well, yeah, it makes sense, but you have to understand that every fight is unique. Air combat, one of the beauties of air combat is that its combat is different. The circumstances are different, the planes probably are different, the situations are different, the speeds are different, the altitudes might be different, so each combat must be taken as one instance. And that particular video you are speaking about was a very particular situation, and maybe if a couple of things have been different, I would have acted a totally different way. So it's not as if I can make a Holy Bible video where in 3/4 of an hour I can make a huge description which will solve all the problems. That video was good, but I don't think I'm going to repeat the same format because I don't think it's good enough. I think the live commentaries are much better for that because the same way air combat is fluid, you are going to see me adapt to each one of them in very different ways because I'm actively thinking in the proper solution for a different problem. The problem is the same, is combat, but the situation is different, which changes the nature of the problem. So I think live commentaries are much better for that because you will see me fluidly coming to different solutions to different situations. I don't think I will repeat the same kind of video unless it's a very specific combat that I think can really illustrate a point very well and where I can really use that for helping people understand some concepts. Maybe it will happen, but it's not something I have planned as such. So I'm not saying no, but it won't happen as something that I do in a regular basis. Next question. Hey Ram, what would you recommend doing once you unlock a new plane and want to grind out experience for the upgrades? Well, go up in the plane and try to kill as many enemies as you can. It's as simple as that. There's no magic There's no magic wand that is going to give you instant upgrades. You need to do well in the plane you're flying. So just go up, use your brain. Remember that you are in a plane that doesn't perform up to specs, and that you have to be a little bit more cautious and more conservative in your approach to fight, and kill as much enemies as you can. Is the way to grind out experience for the upgrades. There's no other one. Of course, you can also use golden eagles to get the unlocks, but honestly, I think it's wasting your money because those things you can get for free. So why not doing so? By the way, I think that the upgrade system is a very good way to get really good in planes. Because if you get used to get good at a plane where it's not performing up to the historical expectations, when you get all the upgrades, you are going to be a monster in that plane. Because you have gimped the worst version. You have fly the gimped version, and you are much better at that plane. Because the plane is the same. The problem is that the performance is different. It's better. So you will be much better at the end if you do all the upgrades on your own rather than wasting your money on them. And finally, the last question, and this is again a huge video, it's going to be more than 1 hour. Oh shit. Ram, have you ever heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect? Allow me to quote Wikipedia. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which unskilled individuals suffer from illusory superiority, mistakenly rating their ability much higher than the average. This bias is attributed to a metacognitive inability of the unskilled to recognize their mistakes. And he goes on to comment, I don't think people taking dumb stuff while being convinced that they are right is a modern society thing, to be honest. I do think it is a modern society thing. Because while that Dunning-Kruger effect I have never ever heard of before, is very real. The problem is that it's massive. It's spread everywhere today. I don't remember internet being like this 10 years ago. I don't. Things were so different. People were so much polite. They were so much prone to accept they didn't know everything. And people who were stating very wrong things, when some proved they were wrong, they will back off and say, hey, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong. And they had no problem doing that. I was there, by the way. I was one of them. When I started in the internet, I thought I was a kind of an expert of air combat when I was shit. And my first experience in the internet were like giving opinions I thought were perfectly valid, but soon I noticed that no, they were not. I simply didn't have enough information, and I was giving wrong opinions because of that. So I simply started shutting up and listening more. Today people don't listen. People simply don't want to. People don't want to learn. People just want to state their truth, and their truth is their truth wherever they are shown or proven. If they are proven wrong, they don't care. They will move on, and in the next thread of the forum or in the next game, they will repeat exactly the same wrong statements, and they will not care about it. Because for them, it's their truth. There's nothing as a truth. And it's common today. If you go into the forums, you will see that more than half the people are like that. And that wasn't this common 10 years ago. It wasn't this way. Something is happening to the modern society that is producing people like this. And I'm terribly scared because in 10 years we have moved from a very polite online community in most games to I mean, the translation happened in 5 years. I mean, it was already like this in 7 years ago. From being a very mature place for people to discuss and comment and learn, it moved into a place where flame fests were all around. Personal attacks were all around the place. Trolls were contaminating everything just for the sake of trolling. Bias was rampant. People calling other people just disgusting stuff just based on their formed opinions was the norm, not the exception. What you see today in War Thunder forums 13 years ago would have been unheard of. I mean, it's mind blowing what if I think in the terms of what was internet 13 years ago, and when I started flying in the online flying communities, the the, the degree of bullshit that is flying all over the place on in War Thunder forums, it's mind-staggeringly blowing. It's impossible to qualify in words the amount of sheer ignorance and stupidity and personal attacks and retardedness, and I mean it's hard to believe we've come this low in only 13 years. And my problem is, if in 13 years we have moved from a very polite community or a very polite ambience in the internet to this, what's going to be like in 20 years from now? What's the kind of monsters we are creating in the new generations? Because this is not online behavior, this is day-to-day behavior of the new generations. The young people I get to know, the people of 20 years old, 18 years old, I get to know, honestly, they are just scumbags. They are idiots. They are. I'm. Let's face it. I mean, I'm 35 years old. I'm young, and I wasn't. It's not that well. Okay, it's been 17 years old. 17 years since I was 18 years old. It's been a long way, but I just recall myself putting myself in their position when I was 18 years old, and the things they do, the extremes they go, the things they indulge themselves into doing, I can't understand it. I simply can't. I don't understand how we are educating the new generations. I don't get what this society is doing wrong to raise these egomaniacal monsters, because they can't be thought as anything else. They are egomaniacal monsters. They only think about them, their success, their satisfaction, their them. It's all about them. There's nothing else about them, about it. Fuck the world. I want to have pleasure. And if I have to step on someone else's toes, I will take pleasure on that. I mean, there are people who really take pleasure and not just stepping on other people's toes, but on pressing on them just to inflict more pain and get satisfaction from that. And it's common. I don't remember people being like this when I was 18 years old. Of course, there were scumbags, there were idiots. There always have been, but the, the numbers of them have increased exponentially, and the extremes they will go. It's staggering. I don't know what we are doing wrong, but there's something we are doing really wrong here. Because really, I'm in an age, and I'm 35 years old, of course, and I look forward to form a family. I look forward to have kids someday, but really, I'm scared about it. I used to be scared about having kids because that's a huge responsibility. You're going to be a father. You need. I mean, the little creature that is just there just depends on you to grow up and be a mature, successful, and productive person for the society, and one that's really worth as a person. It's up to you. You are his father. You are one of the main streams in him to become whatever he's going to be, and that scared me shitless. When my sister got her sons, um, the first idea that crossed my mind when I went to visit her and to see my nephews was, shit, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready. I was scared even to take them in my arms. And just the idea of having one of those little things in my arms and having the responsibility of raising them to be successful and to be good people has scared me a lot. Today I still do have that scare, but what scares to me today is, am I going to educate my sons to be good people in a world that penalizes good people and rewards scumbags? Because what I'm going to do if I educate my kids the right way, if that's the case, is to gimp the future, is to make them happy in the future. Because if the society rewards scumbags, and my kids are raised as decent people, they are never going to have the success scumbags do, and they probably will never be as happy as they deserve. So I'm at a point when I want to have kids, but I'm wondering myself if is it worth it? Look at what we have today. Look at the new kids. Look at the 15 years old we have today. Really, look at them. Look closely at them, at their behavior patterns, at what they do. It's not just about the forums being full of idiots. The problem is that forums is the tip of the iceberg of a new generation of idiots. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Something has made them grow into idiots. And that's a scary thought. For me it is, at least. And I don't think it has to do with any effect or any Dunning-Kruger effect. I think it has to do with society and the way they are raising their youngs. And it's mind-blowingly scary for me to think the kind of brainwashed generation of retards this society is creating. Because this is what I think. Of course, I don't want to generalize him here. I mean, there's a very big portion of people like that. There is, of course, a lot of young people who are really worth it, really great people, really educated, really nice, really cool. And they want to learn, they want to be good people, they want to be respectful, there are a lot of people like that, but the problem is that the rate of decent to scumbag people, the ratio is right now much bigger than what it was 10 years before. And what I'm looking is 20 years in the future, that rate is going to be much higher than what it is now. I don't know what we are doing wrong, but I think we are doing something wrong. That's what I think, and really, I think the society has to do with that. I don't know what we are doing wrong as a society, but we are doing it. So yeah, well, that was something totally unrelated to War Thunder, and with that, I'm going to finish up this video. Of course, I don't want to go off without remembering the people who has donated to this channel during last week. As always, I'm at loss of words to explain what I feel and how thankful I am, how humbled I am for whoever even puts $1 in my donation page. Really, thank you so much. So yeah, that was it for this video, guys. That's it for this Ram Ep.14. I hope you had fun. I hope it's been a long one episode. I hope you followed this until the end. I don't know, who knows. Of course, remember to put up your questions down below in the comment section. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and see you later. Every city, there's a place where life's a little easy. A stress from the world outside. Every longer will be alright.